Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahangsa Prabhadakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zabrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Grangi. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Siddharne. Om Agana Tamarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Siddhi Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, text number 18. Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Bhagavateshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Taprayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki. Ladies. Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Nashta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Uttama Shloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtaki Nashta destroyed Prayeshu almost to nil Abhadreshu all that is inauspicious Nityam regularly Bhagavata Srimad Bhagavatam or the pure devotee Sevaya by serving Bhagavati unto the personality of Godhead Uttama transcendental Sloke prayers Bhakti loving service Bhavati comes into being Nashtaki irrevocable. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Please repeat. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Prabhupada's purport. Here is a remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles on in the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavata. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them, or either of them, can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. A devotee Bhagavata is as good as the book Bhagavata, because the devotee Bhagavata leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavata. And the book Bhagavata is full of information about the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees, who are also Bhagavatas. Bhagavata book and person are identical. The devotee Bhagavata is a direct representative of Bhagavan, personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavata, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavata. Human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavata or the book Bhagavata, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually, these are facts explained by Srila Naradeva. Let's try that again. Srila Narada Deva, who happened to be a maidservant's son in his previous life. The maidservant was engaged in the menial service of the sages, thus he also became in contact with them. And simply by associating with him and accepting the remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality, Srila Narada Deva. These are the miraculous effects of the association of the Bhagavatas. And to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily, with the result that he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service, under the guidance of the Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The messages of the book Bhagavata therefore have to be received from the devotee Bhagavata, and the combination of these two Bhagavatas will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. So the text again. Naishta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Satarne. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has mentioned that Chaitasa Sarva Karmani Maya Sanyasya Matraha Buddhi Yogam Upashitya Machita Sadatam Bhava. Then all activities depend upon me, work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So devotional service proceeds on three different levels, called Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Bhagavatam class is especially meant to give us an understanding of what Sambandha is. And Sambandha is more or less to convince us that everything here in the material world is both owned and controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishavasha idam sarvam jagat tam jagat tena tena bunjaitaha magridaha kasyas vidana. Everyone is convinced that Krishna is a proprietor. Then the next step is, what does Krishna want us to do, and how does he want us to do it? So both, as it explains here, that the devotee Bhagavat, he gives information about Sambandha. And the book also gives us information about Sambandha, trying to convince us that actually Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that eternally we're related to him. It's not that we're trying to establish now a relationship that hasn't existed eternally. At every moment, every living entity has a relation with Krishna. Maybe not directly with the form of Shyamasundar Sundar as at the present moment, but Paramatma is in our heart, in everyone's heart, every living entity's heart. And Paramatma is directing every living entity what they're doing. Krishna is speaking to us eternally. And we're listening to him eternally. Now he may be telling us directly what to do, as in the case of a pure devotee. He may be telling us, and what we should say directly means, if we read Bhagavad Gita, then we should understand that Krishna is personally speaking to us. And if we hear from Krishna's pure representative, for instance, if we listen to Srila Prabhupada's tapes, we should understand that Krishna is also personally speaking to us. And if we hear from Krishna's devotees, we should understand that Krishna is also trying to tell us something and that we should listen. And if we read the Bhagavatam, then Krishna is also speaking to us. So Krishna is always speaking to us, and the message is the same, that we're all eternal servants of Krishna, everything here belongs to him, and the getting out of the material and experience, getting out of the material illusions, simply means to hear from Krishna, accept what he has to say, and then follow it. That's called inquiry, service, submission, and service. In other words, anyone who comes to class, for instance, should have some inquisitiveness. What this speaker is going to tell me that I don't know already? Because then we have to think about, what do we actually know? Even if the speaker repeats, your body's changing. How many of us during the day think, oh, my body's changing? How many of us think, I'm actually a spiritual being during the day? How many of us think, I may be a spiritual being, but I have a material body? And out of the two, right now, more important than me is my body, as of this moment. Therefore, although Krishna is trying to speak to us as Paramatma, often we miss the point. In other words, Krishna, if we don't hear him as Paramatma, there's so many other things coming through our minds. So many other people are telling us so many other things outside the Bhagavad Gita. Amazon.com is not making a fortune by selling Bhagavad Gitas. It's selling books that are telling us everything except Krishna consciousness. Of course, everyone is conscious of Krishna to some extent. To be conscious of this body is to be also conscious of Krishna, because we're not the body, and the body is moving on to Krishna's direction. Therefore, the body is actually one of the forms of Krishna. So if one looks in the mirror and says, there's Krishna, it's not 100% wrong. What's wrong is we think we're the body. We're taking credit for a lot more than reality. In other words, when you're 1/10,000th the size of tip hair in size, and you think you're a big body, that's an illusion. If you think the body is actually Krishna, it's working under Krishna's direction, as Krishna says, Sarvata Panipadam Tat, Sarvata Shishamo Mukam, Sarvata Shrutima Loke, Sarvam Avriti Tishtate. That everywhere are his hands. And Krishna is talking about Paramatma. He's actually talking about himself. But he's talking as, I guess, he's not talking exactly as Krishna. I guess he's talking as Mahavishnu. Everywhere is his hands, his legs, his eyes, his faces. In this way, the super soul exists everywhere, pervading everything. So when we look at our hands, we should know these are Krishna's hands. This is Krishna's face. This is Krishna, and we're simply the passenger. Of course, as Krishna told Arjuna told Krishna, please drive my chariot because I want to see who I'm going to fight against. So we're the passenger, and Krishna is the charioteer, and we're asking Krishna, please drive my chariot. I want to get some Maha ice cream. And Krishna drives our chariot over there, and someone hands us some ice cream. So Krishna is eternally our charioteer, and we're asking Krishna, please take me here, please take me there. And Krishna is doing it. And we think we're drivers. We're a backseat driver. And Krishna is the actual driver. And he's not just whimsically driving us around, our desires count, but also our past counts too. Where we want to go depends upon what we've done in the past. Just like most of us, and I hope all of us, are not desiring, Krishna, please drive my chariot to the nearby bar. I want to distribute some books there, of course. So Krishna may say, are you sure? There may be better places to distribute. No, I have a contact there. He'll definitely buy a Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna will drive our chariot there. And we say, Krishna, I feel bad, drive my chariot over this cliff. Krishna may say, are you sure? No, do it. No, I'm sorry. Why don't you, as I said before, I think yesterday I may have said it, or the day before, one devotee went to Srila Prabhupada, and this is 26 2nd Avenue, 1966, 67, and said, Swamiji, I want to kill myself. Because they were living in the temple, 26 2nd Avenue, and no one had any money except for whatever the treasurer gave them. So one devotee went to Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji at the time, and said, Swamiji, can you give me $50? And Prabhupada said, what for? $50 is like $500 nowadays. So he said, because I want to burn myself to death. So Prabhupada said, he called for Gargamuni, who was the treasurer. Gargamuni generally wouldn't give anyone any money. I was trained up by Gargamuni to become a treasurer. He was the first one who instructed me. And he said, Prabhupada said, being a treasurer is very simple. You take in money, but you don't give anything out. So Prabhupada asked Gargamuni, he said, this boy, he wants $50 to buy some gasoline because he wants to burn himself to death. Can you give him $50? And Gargamuni said, I'm sorry, we don't have $50, Swamiji. So Prabhupada looked at the boy and said, sorry, we don't have $50. And then the boy left. And Prabhupada turned to Gargamuni and said, this boy is crazy. He said he wants $50 for a gallon of gasoline, but at that time, a gallon of gasoline only cost $1.50. So Prabhupada knew he was crazy. So he wanted to drive his chariot to the gasoline station and burn himself to death. But Krishna didn't want that, at least not at that time. So we may desire something, but Krishna may not make the arrangements so we can fulfill it. Now here it says, if we hear about Krishna regularly, then we're hearing from Krishna. And if we keep on hearing and hearing and hearing, and then not only hearing, but also putting into practice what we hear. Even a little bit we put into practice. We don't have to put everything into practice because we can't remember everything. But even we put a little into practice, then the result is that Krishna will give us he'll give us some kind of experience that will encourage us to practice again. He'll try to encourage us somehow or another to follow the process as we're doing it. In other words, hearing is very nice, but then if we actually try to remember what we've heard, just trying, then Krishna helps us. Because Krishna is simply reciprocating with our desire. Just like if one is trying to learn a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, most of us are going to become discouraged. I can hardly remember everyone's name, what to speak of But if we try to do it, then Krishna will reciprocate and help us. Although Maya will say, "Oh, you can't remember who you are," what to speak of anything else. And even if we can't remember, at least we should remember Krishna. As I said, Brajvi Hariprabhu from ISKCON Resolve, he went to one elderly sadhu named Puri Maharaj, and he said, "Puri Maharaj, it's me, Braj Bihari." Puri Maharaj was over 100 years old at that time. And he said, "Sorry, I can't remember. Who are you?" And then he said, Puri Maharaj said, "Now," he said, "I can't remember anything. All I can remember is Krishna." So that's perfection. Imagine if you couldn't remember anything except for Krishna. Then you're guaranteed to go back to the spiritual world. At the time of death, you try, what's going on? All I can remember is Krishna, and then it's... So Krishna will give us such intelligence, if that's what we want, so that we can always remember Krishna and never forget him. And that's perfection, that's what we're trying to accomplish. It's not very complicated. We don't have to memorize millions of things, but if we try to remember something in relation to Krishna, then the result is that Krishna will help. He's prepared to help us remember or forget, or to see things in a certain way. Whatever we want, Krishna will help us obtain. For instance, if one wants to remember Krishna, then Krishna will say, "Yes, I'll help you." And even if we can't remember a sloka, like, for instance, if we try, just take a normal sloka. Dehi no sminyata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dahantara praptir diryas tatra namuyati. I'm sure most of us know that sloka. Yes, we've heard it so many times. But say I didn't know it, so how to do it? Well, if I try to memorize the sloka all at once, I may become discouraged. But if I can remember the first word in the sloka, then I think, well, actually, my memory's not so bad. Dehi no. And we can't even remember the first word, at least if we can remember the first letter of the first word, we're making progress. D. And then maybe E. Dehi no smin. And the Krishna will help. And the only way of doing it is to test ourselves, to see if we actually remember it. If we think, "Oh, I know that sloka," well, maybe, maybe not. Even slokas that we think we know, we may not know them, unless we test ourselves. So that's, Krishna will help. If we test ourselves and we think, "Well, I don't know that word. I'm embarrassed. I should know it. I should know everything, but I don't know everything." So then Krishna will help us. All right, you don't know. You're a little humble. We get a little humble. And then Krishna will help and remind us. As a matter of fact, even when we think we know something, we probably don't know it that well. De no sminita dehe kamaram yovanam jara tata dahantara praptira diryas tatra namuyati. So what was the second to the last word in that sloka? What's that? Close, but a few slokas off. Not in this sloka, in the word, the sloka, the verse I just recited. The last word is muyanti. What's that? Denos minita dehe kamaram yovanam jara tata dahantara praptir diryas tatra namuyati. Diryas tatra. Dira. What is dira? Sober, yes. So the way people memorize slokas is that they, generally speaking, the Brahmins, they'd recite hundreds of slokas during a sacrifice. They didn't have a book there. No, they had to memorize everything. And if they made one mistake, the whole sacrifice was ruined. So they had to get it perfectly. When Twasta wanted to create a demon to kill his enemy, who was Indra, then Twasta had the priests, they were reciting the verses, and after a day or 2 days or 3 days of reciting verses, finally he recited the verse to get an enemy of Indra. And he just recited the one letter in the verse wrong. Instead of pronouncing a long A, he pronounced And the whole thing was ruined. Instead of getting an enemy that would kill Indra, he got an enemy who Indra killed. A little bit different. Rather disappointing sacrifice. After days and days of sacrifice, he got exactly the opposite result because of mispronouncing one letter out of probably hundreds and thousands of verses that he was, or at least thousands of verses that he was chanting. So how did the Brahmins? Because they had to be completely dependent on Krishna. That's why the sacrifice was so special. That's why it got a result. Because that dependency upon the super soul within the heart. And how do they do it? Well, they recited the verse. They learned every verse forward, and then they learned every other word in the verse, then every third word in the verse, then every fourth word in the verse. Then they did that, and when they got to the end, then they did it backwards. And if you do that, even you go to sleep tonight, you'll be reciting the verse. It'll appear in your dreams. Because they concentrated their minds on the sloka in such a way that it became embedded in their consciousness in the sense that Krishna recognized that this person really wants to learn something. They're really making an effort. Let me reciprocate with them. And Krishna did that. And he'll do that with all of us. Now, the difference is that we have to practically do things also. And Krishna is trying to see if we're actually determined enough to do things, to follow the sloka. Now they do it when they forget the parts of the sloka, but they keep on remembering it, try to remember it. But we have to remember what to do, and then even there's some obstacle, if we try, in spite of the obstacle, to take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna will help us. He'll give us remembrance of him. He'll help us forget things that are the obstacles. And the result is that we'll get his blessings because we'll be able to surpass the influence of the illusory entity and remain fixed in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada said that in the verse 434 in the Bhagavad Gita, that one has to approach a spiritual master in the line of disciple succession from the Lord himself. The Lord, such a spiritual master can convey the knowledge of the Lord as the Lord presented it. And such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender without false prestige. One has to serve the spiritual master in full surrender like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One has to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses him with genuine spiritual understanding. Blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively, but one should get a clear understanding through submission, service, and inquiries. The spiritual master is by nature very kind to the disciple, and so when the disciple is always submissive and is ready to render service, then the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So how did I remember that? I don't remember anything. Krishna remembers everything. And if we make an effort, then he'll help us. So we actually think, this is actually important. Like one boy was thinking, he was having bad marks in school. This is a true story. He couldn't remember anything. The teachers were always complaining about him. This boy is a failure. He's going to fail the class. He can't remember anything. So the mother said, well, he has a poor memory. What can we do? But actually, the boy had this, they had these, when I was younger, we used to have these baseball cards. I don't know if they probably don't have it here. In other words, you go to the store and you pay 5 cents and you get bubble gum. But part of the reward of the bubble gum, you get a card of a baseball player. Do they have that here? Things like that? Football players, whatever it is. And then it has all statistics of the player. How many, his batting average and whatever. So this boy had memorized every single player in the baseball teams. There were hundreds of baseball players on both teams. He had a fantastic memory, but it was for baseball cards. He thought that was important, that's all. He thought this school is, what I'm learning is a waste of time. It's the baseball cards that really count. So everyone, generally speaking, if they're not had a brain injury or something, everyone has a pretty good memory. And it develops if we utilize it because Krishna will help. It's not that I'm in charge of my memory and that independently I'm remembering and forgetting things. No, Krishna will help us. If we want to remember the Bhagavatam or things in relationship to Krishna, he'll help us do that. And if we want to remember something else, he'll also help us do it. And how do we know what we're interested in? Whatever we're doing. Why do we go on the internet? Why do we surf the internet? Because we're interested. What's happening? What's going on? Why is Facebook so popular? We want to see all the smiling faces on Facebook and hear their stories. So we're interested. We're inquisitive. We're naturally as spiritual beings, we're inquisitive. Everyone is asking questions, and Krishna is giving the answers. It depends where we're focusing our attention. And whatever we focus our attention, we're going to give our love to. What is giving our love to? Service. We can tell what we love by who we're serving. If you have a little dog, ooh, Fifi, ooh. I love you. Ooh, Fifi, you're so cute. When Fifi wants to go out and do his business, we put him on the leash and we walk him. We serve him. We become his chariot driver. And we wait patiently. As he's doing his business on the street, we're submissive and we're meditating. Oh, poo-foo, he did his business. Oh, I feel so good. So we're servants by nature. The question is, we serve the things we love that give us some happiness, some pleasure. Therefore, we have to watch ourselves where we're asking Krishna to drive our chariot. Because if we keep on saying, drive me over the cliff, then after a while, Krishna will say, okay, Krishna, you won't drive, just drive me a little closer, and So Krishna will reciprocate with us. And it's, in one sense, it's very easy. We come to class and we listen to about Krishna. And if we're really serious, we pray, Krishna, please let me remember something that was said. Let me change my life a little bit. And if we desire like that, Krishna will help us during the day. If we try to remember what was said, and even in class, if we read a book and we close the book and then ask, what was in the book? And then we say, I can't remember what was in the book. Well, which book did I just read? I don't remember. Oh, it's the Bhagavatam, okay. Now close the book again. All right, I can't remember what was said. Which book did I read? The Bhagavatam. Oh, I'm making progress. I'm actually starting to remember something. I'm coming alive again. So Krishna will help. But the amazing thing, if we just read something, my Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time. We close the book. What did I just read? Oh, my Lordship, I consider you, my Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time. Then Krishna will actually start living it within us, helping us remember. And if I can't remember that, then I just open the book again, and it says, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. So we made some progress. And then it said, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time. So Krishna's entering into us more and more, that's all. We're actually becoming more and more Krishna conscious. And if we compare ourselves to others, oh, I'll never have a memory like he has or she has or whatever, then we're wasting our time. Because it's our individual relation with Krishna that we're trying to revive. It's not a competition. Who goes back to Godhead first? It's not that there's a limited space. We finally get to the seventh door of the gates of Vaikuntha. There's Jai and Vijay. And they check the list and say, sorry, you're too late. We're filled up. Come back next life of Brahma. Maybe someone fell down, there'll be some more room for you. That's not the way it works. There's plenty of room for everyone in the spiritual world. Even in this world, we can become Krishna conscious if we just make a little effort in the right direction. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Yeah. About prayojana, I would like to ask you for a little technical explanation about prayojana. Is prayojana related to the different rasas or quality of bhakti, or how we can understand? At least I don't have good explanation. What is prayojana actually?
Prayojana, well, sambandha means give you the picture of what's going on here, what's happening. Abhideya is what you should do in this circumstance. Just like if you walk into the room and you see everyone has a gun pointed at you. So you ask what's going on. Well, looks like they're about to shoot me. That's called sambandha. Abhideya, what should you do? You should run out of the room as soon as possible. That's called abhideya. And prayojana is I ran out of the room and now they can't shoot me. I've reached the goal. So that's it. So for us, for instance, sambandha is everything here belongs to Krishna, but I think most of it belongs to me. So abhideya is, all right, let me utilize this for Krishna. And the prayojana is, maybe I'll stop thinking that everything belongs to me and I'll realize that everything here belongs to Krishna and I'll remember him. So that's our prayojana. That's our goal in that particular circumstance.
Thank you. Another one is about learning shlokas. When I speak with devotees, we have different opinion why we need to learn shlokas. So can you kindly explain what is benefit of learning shlokas?
You remember Krishna. Depends who you are. Now I'm giving class regularly, so if I didn't know any sloka, I'd look like a fool. I really. And if I can quote some slokas, then it looks like I know something. But the other thing is when you're giving class, who's actually giving class? What are we trying to do? We're trying to explain. If you read Prabhupada's purports, they're actually just manifestations of different slokas that have been assimilated and put into a particular order to illuminate the verse. So we have no other business other than to repeat what Krishna said. But if we don't know what Krishna said, then how can we repeat what Krishna said? Now the advantage of the slokas, for instance, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta sitamatraha vishehi yasyandriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. That's Bhagavad Gita 261. One who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. And 1857, Chaitasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya mataraha buddhiyogam masita sadatam bhava. In all activities and for the results depend upon me, work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So in the two verses, the word matparahara is used. And in the 1857, Prabhupada writes, in this verse, this word matparahara is very important. It means that one should have no goal in life, save and except act in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while acting in such a way, one should think of Krishna only. I've been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. And I'm doing it just to please him. And in 261, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta sita matpraha. One who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. So matpraha there means to fix the consciousness upon Krishna. And that gives us an opportunity to merge the two verses together and see what Krishna is saying from different points of view. Now you can't usually do that with English very well, or any other language. It's very difficult to do that, because every verse is translated slightly different. But the Sanskrit is solid. In other words, every Sanskrit word there has many varieties of meanings, but when you assimilate them, it clarifies the two verses simultaneously. Anything else? Yes.
In the verse it's described that things are almost destroyed. What is destroyed in the heart and what is remaining?
I can't see. I have to look more deeply into your heart to see.
Is this some general things are destroyed?
The difference is, at the stage, this is described in the state of Nishta. So at the stage of Nishta, obstacles don't deviate one. And obstacles meaning material desires that appear within our consciousness that we remember don't deviate us from our determination to engage in devotional service. We don't become distracted by them. Now we might become distracted by them, like Bharat Maharaj became distracted by a deer, even at the preliminary stage of bhava. But generally speaking, the idea comes, but it's not really so attractive. Now some idea may come and it's very attractive. Matter of fact, we just follow it. We don't even think about it. Sure, it's just normal. But at the stage of Nishta, it comes, but we think, well, it's not so important. And then we just go on with our business. It's there, but we don't become distracted by it. Anything else? Hwala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.